Okay, the objective of this video is to show how the electronics for the Kino goes together. So the electronics will come in a box with its charging lead, and good proportion of electronics all assembled and ready to go. Separately, I've got 10 sets of plugs and sockets that need to be assembled separately because the plug won't go through the frame. So the red lead switch is for the on-off and goes on the right hand side, and the switch needs to be oriented so that the wires are at the lower position. So this is up is off and down is on. And the other switch is to operate or to enable the LEDs, goes in there, and again the two wires are at the bottom of the towards the centre of the thing. So that's got them. Now these need to be assembled into the plug, and move that away. So the two nearest need to be the green. No, that's the side up's going to go into electronics, not that way with the bits that grab hold of the connectors on show. It's got these two lines which orient the plug. So the plugs go in, and you'll feel a positive click when they engage. Slightly fiddly, but that's the way it goes. Okay, and then the red for the power, as you'll see when we get the electronics out, they're actually next to the power socket. Right, they're all clicked in, and none of the connectors are showing proud. Okay, next we've got the electronics, which is all wired together, but you need to feed through these two boards with the LEDs on. So the sort of triangular board should feed through there, and there should be enough room, and the other board feeds through there. It will go through. Okay, so now I've got the electronics in place. Then we can slide the display into its place. The Pi needs to go right up in the top corner here. The power socket goes into there. The power lead goes through this slot that I've made in the casing, and actually just before we connect the battery, we'll just connect the on-off switch. Then we should be more or less ready to go. So on-off switch, actually I find it easier to connect that with the board lifted up slightly, so we'll just get in, pop that in. So electronics in place, LEDs in place, that's out of the way so it can't cause any short circuits. Now the battery needs to go about 5mm in from the edge of the display, and that needs to correspond with the pocket that we've got in the back here. I'd planned on the connector being in this area here, but that depends on whether the leads on the batteries that you've got are long enough to do that. If not, I've made those long enough that I should just be able to connect there. But if there's a problem on that, you'll just have to come back to me. So there we are. We can now connect that in. The slight tricky bit is just getting all the wires to go in their places, and you may need to use some tape to hold them in position so that they don't move around. For the battery, I suggest putting some double-sided tape on that bit so that holds that in place. As far as the pie is concerned, I'd originally thought about maybe gluing it onto the back, but I don't think that's going to work. But maybe putting some sort of the thick double-sided tape to hold it up in this top corner would be an alternative. So now with all of that hopefully going to stay in position, or note that the wiring for that plug needs to go over the socket and not over that line there. Oh, while I've got it in this position, I'm guessing that you could hold the circuit board in place with a couple of self-tapping screws there, and then put something like a 1mm piece of plastic onto the back, so that rests on where those sockets are, and then that'll hold the board nicely in place. So that now is a tight fit. It goes on the back, and now let's just move this slightly out of the way. Now we should just be able to turn it on. I've not shown putting the buttons in place because that's obviously something that you can do. In some ways, there's no point going through the rest of the startup because that's going to take about a minute. And Julian, the button, the little part of the body that was missing, sorry, that broke in shipment is held in place there for you to glue back in place. So anyway, I hope that shows you the assembly and you find it straightforward. But if there are any problems, obviously just give me a shout. Well, I thought I might as well just let it run until the display's running, because then I can just run through the pause, which is working there. Lights in sequence. The bottom one's now in sequence. Hang on, pressed the wrong one. Bottom one's in sequence, and the top one's flashing, and the bottom one's flashing. Okay, so that's all working because that's ready in the on position. Now just switch it off. The pie's shutting down. We're getting a sequence of lights, and that's everything off. Okay, thank you very much.